Hello everyone, today we're here with a deck profile for a deck that took me all the way to level 20 in the Duelist Cup, and I'll also be bringing a very similar list to YCS. So as always, we'll be doing a deck rundown and then going through a couple of games to show it off. Let's get into it. So for an overview of this deck, we want to be locking out the opponent for as long as we can so we can banish as many cards as possible to make our Gren Maju absolutely beefy as fuck. The reason we run 41 cards is just so we have one extra on our opponent in case it really becomes a grind game, and also because I like to have one lucky card in there. Now, you can kind of run this at 50, 60 to get more banished cards, but I found it's a lot less consistent that way, and I prefer to keep it at low numbers. So the first monster we run 2 copies of is Eater of Millions. And this card is great for getting a lot banished, since to summon it you need to banish 5 or more cards from hand, field, or extra deck, so very powerful banish. And a lot of people don't read its effect. So in the damage step, it can, when it battles an opponent's monster, banish it face down. So a lot of people will attack into this. You activate the effect, banish, easy. Next, we have 3 copies of Gren Maju Decklist. This is the namesake of the deck. It gains 400 attack and defense for each one of your banished cards, so it doesn't matter how many cards your opponent banishes. And yeah, you're going to be trying to get this boy up to like 10,000 attack just so you can win in one attack with this guy. Super powerful and I love it. You can run 2 copies, but I find you have a lot higher chance of banishing both if you only run 2, so I do decide to run 3. So next card is pretty obvious. We run 3 Ash Blossom. Now this deck isn't affected as much by Max C, so you don't really care much for that. You mainly just want to be stopping your opponent's kind of main combo lines just to stop them from doing anything for as long as possible. The best bit about this is even if it gets banished, you can still use it, which is why we run it. Next is one of the most annoying cards that I think I've ever seen. It's Inspector Border. Now, you can't normal summon it if you control a monster, you can only set it. When it's on the field, players can only activate effects up to the number of extra deck types on the field. So, for example, if you have a Link monster on the field, both players can activate one effect. If you have a Link and a Fusion, you can activate 2. So this is fantastic because a lot of the time they will need to activate effects to get into those extra deck monsters. So you will end up locking them out for sometimes the entire game, sometimes just summoning this is a win, and other times it can give you a few turns to keep banishing and build up your Gren Maju. Next we have Dimension Shifter. Now this card is brilliant. It's usually in the side in decks in real life, but because it can auto win against some decks, it's great to run in the main. If you are deciding to play Dimension Shifter, make sure you toggle on so you can use this in the standby phase. That way, if you're playing it on your turn, you can use your Extravagance, and if you're playing it on the opponent's turn, they can't use Triple Tactics Talent because you didn't activate it in the main phase. For the last monster, we have Gizmek. Now, this lets you, quick effect, banish 8 from the top of your deck face down and special summon it. Now, this is great because you can use it in the end phase of your opponent's turn, and then if you draw another one, you can go to your extra deck plays. It's also great because it has another effect where you can banish 3 cards from your extra deck, and then you can destroy a face-up monster. Now, you can only use one effect of Gizmek each turn, that's why you want to be doing it in the end phase, just so you can potentially pop or potentially summon another one. Now for the spells, we have Raigeki and Harpy's Feather Duster. Pretty obvious choices, they're just really powerful cards. Change of Heart is another great one. You can steal an opponent's monster and link it off, or Xyz, or you can even attack with it for game, like attack over another monster, so you can Gren Maju. So here we have a lot of draw cards. We have Pot of Duality, Pot of Desires, and Pot of Extravagance. Now, Pot of Duality is great. Whilst it locks off your special summons, so you can't Gizmek or Eater of Millions, you can still activate it after activating Desires or Extravagance. So it's really good for getting that extra draw in, and it also lets you search for one specific card you need, which is greatly needed for this deck because there's not many searches. Pot of Desires is brilliant because you don't care if it gets ashed, you just want to be banishing the 10 cards, and that's fine for you. That gives your Gren Maju 4,000 attack and defense, which is nuts. So honestly, you can just play this and not worry about ash. Pot of Extravagance, this is a risky one, and I've considered cutting it to 2, because your extra deck kind of matters. Now, sometimes you actually don't want to play this if you have, say, 2 Gizmeks, or a potential kind of change of heart into Link, because you don't want to be banishing what you need to summon. So it's a risky one, but it's still great for consistency, so I popped it in there. For our last spell, we have Dimensional Fissure. Now, no brainer really. any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. This just helps power up your Gren Maju, and it also helps shut down other strategies like Dimension Shifter. It can be an instant win against certain decks. Now on to the traps. We have the Solemn package, so we have 3 Solemn Judgment, 2 Solemn Warning, and 1 Solemn Strike. Now the only essential one here is Solemn Judgment, since it can protect your Gren Maju if you have a couple set. Now these two are for slowing down the game. You can sub these out. I've tried Ice Dragon Prison, I like that as well, but I thought I'd keep it simple and keep the Solemns in here. Next we have 2 Macrocosmos. We only run 2 because we also have the Dimensional Fissure. Now, again, this is brilliant. All cards that go to the graveyard get banished. Powers up your Gren, shuts down strategies, and yeah, not much more to say on that there. We also run Teekboo, or there can be only one. This is because the only kind of doubles you have are the Eater of Millions and Gren Maju, both fiends, and the Border and Gizmek, who are both machines. But the thing about this deck is you're probably only going to have 1 or 2 out on the field, and it's very unlikely that you're going to have 2 of the same type. So if you can shut your opponent down, this is well worth playing. I run 3 of this in the main in my real life deck. It's super powerful. And for the last trap card, we have Crackdown. This is one of my favorite cards. It's super spicy. You activate it, take control of an opponent's monster as long as it's face up on the field, and it can't activate its effects or attack, so it's not as good at Change of Heart in getting damage in, but you can kind of link off, Xyz off, or literally just keep hold of it. If your opponent doesn't have it, they can't use it. So, super powerful card, recommend running 3, but if you can't afford it because they're ultra rares here for some reason, there's alternatives that you can run. So now we'll go into the extra deck. It might seem like it won't matter, but it does come up more often than you think. So we run the Draglubion package. We do this because we can technically summon 2 Gizmecs by using 1 in the end phase and going 1 into your turn. So you'll summon Draglubion, special summon Numeron Dragon, attach Hope Harbinger, and can activate Numeron Dragon's effect to gain 9,000 damage. So that could be an alternate win condition there. We run Zeus just because in case Numeron Dragon doesn't clear, you can just Zeus on it, and whilst it won't be able to activate its effect, it has more attack and defense than 0. For the Link monsters, we have Relinquished Anima because we can use it off Eater of Millions, and it can sometimes squeeze out a win. Lingaribo for if they summon Ibli onto your side of the field, you can use this to link it off. Nightmare Phoenix because it's a generic link 2, and you can easily use one of your monsters plus 1 you steal into it, and it's got a good effect on it, so you can't go wrong. IP Masquerader is for if we end up with more than 2 monsters and we want to go into the Unicorn or Access Code. We have Dark the Dark Charmer. This is because we have quite a few dark monsters, and also it's just generically good. We have Nightmare Unicorn on the very rare case we go into the IP or we have 3 monsters, and Access Code on the very, very, very rare chance that we have 4 monsters on the field. So that's it for the deck. Let's get into some games. So in our first game we will be going second. This is primarily a going first deck, but can still go second, thankfully. So he will start his turn by activating Fateful Adventure to add the Water Enchantress. He's then going to pitch a Galaxy Soldier. He's going to activate the Water Enchantress to get the Rite of Arabasir. He's going to activate the right and set 1, special summoning the token, activating the Fateful Adventure to equip the token of Draco back. In the end phase we're going to Gizmek in case you draw into a second one, so we can go into our extra deck plays. So we've got a lot of draw power here. We're going to first activate the Gizmek to try and bait and negate by banishing 3 to pop the token. He's going to infib, which is fantastic, because in case we draw the Gren, that won't get negated and we'll go for game. So we're going to activate Desires to banish 10 and hopefully draw 2. Unfortunately he ashes this, but that's fine. We've still got the cards in our banish pile. We currently have 21, which is a good number. We activate the Dimensional Fissure and set a Teekboo. We're going to attack into the token for 450 damage. It doesn't get destroyed because of Fateful Adventure. And let's see what he's got on this follow-up turn. So he's going to activate the Draco back to bounce the Gizmek, and then activate Fateful Adventure to add a Griffin Rider, pitching the Jar of Avarice. Now he's going to activate the Griffin Rider to special summon it, and here we will chain Teekboo. He's going to chain the Griffin Rider to return it to the deck, and then negate and pop the Teekboo, which is fine by us. It slows him down still, and that's kind of what we wanted. He's going to normal summon Sea Crush Wyvern. I don't really know what this guy is doing. We're going to, in the battle phase, activate the Gizmek Quick Effect to banish 8 and summon it so we can't attack over it. Let's see what we draw. We draw into our Gren Maju Decklist, and how many banished cards we have? We have 29, and we're going to make that into 35 with the Pot of Extravagance. We're going to activate Change of Heart to steal the token and get rid of the equip spell and just get it off his field. Then we're going to activate Gizmek to banish 3 and pop Sea Crush. Then we're going to summon a 15,200 attack Gren Maju, which is probably one of the biggest I've ever seen, and we're going to attack into face for 15,200. Well over lethal, and this is why I love this deck. This Gren Maju is so beefy, and it happens more often than you think. Absolutely love this deck. So going into game 2, we're going second once again. This is a good game because it shows how Change of Heart can be useful. We're going to pitch the D-Shifter in the draw phase in case he has Triple Tactics talent, so we won't be able to activate it. He's going to activate a Shuna to special summon it from hand, and then activate Pot of Desires to banish 10 and draw 2. He's going to normal summon Ash Blossom, and then he's going to Synchro into Cheng Ying. He's going to end turn with just a Cheng Ying on board, which is fine by us. He gains attack for each banished card, so we're going to go ahead and start banishing. Banish 6 to attempt to draw 2, which goes through. We're then going to activate Gizmek to banish 8 from the top and attempt to special summon him. He gets on the field. Unfortunately, he's going to activate his Cheng Ying to banish him and the Dimensional Shifter from the grave. We're going to normal summon the Inspector Border. Because he's used one effect this turn, he can no longer use any monster effect since there's only one other type on the field. And then we're going to activate Change of Heart to steal the Cheng Ying and get over for just 100 more than game. See, this showcases how the Inspector Border can still be used going second, and why Change of Heart is great. Because you can bait the opponent into activating monster effects and then summon the border so they can't activate anything more, and then just do what you want. So going into game 3, we are finally going first. Let's see our hand. Not a bad one. In the standby phase, once again, we're going to pitch the Shifter, just so all our cards go to the grave, get banished instead of going to the grave. Then we're going to activate Pop Desires to draw 2. Not very good draws, so we're just going to banish 5 from the extra to summon Eater of Millions and set a Solemn Warning. Now he's also got a bad hand, he's going to set 1 and pass, so we're just going to activate Gizmek in the end phase, just in case we draw into another one. So we've drawn into Pop Duality, we're going to use that first, he's going to Ash it, that's fine. We could have gone for the Desires in the hopes of drawing a second Gizmek, in fact I think that was the correct play, but luckily the Ash was there so it doesn't matter. We're going to Pop Desires and he's going to Effect Veiler on the Eater of Millions. This is fine, once again if you draw into Gren, we're happy that that negates out of the way so it doesn't really matter. We draw into a couple of more unplayable cards, so we're going to set a Sword of Judgment and just attack with Gizmek. Now, back to the opponent's turn, let's see what he's going to do. He's going to attempt to activate Branded Fusion, but we're going to Solemn Warning that, since it seems like he doesn't have many cards in hand that actually do anything, so we're going to try shut down everything he does. He's going to scale a Predator Plant, and then Fusion, and then normal summon Fallen of Outbounds. We're going to Solemn Strike that, we're going to Solemn Judgment that, just because we don't want him doing anything. And here we just have game on board. We are just going to activate Harpies just to see what that set was, nothing useful, and then we're just going to attack the game. So, pretty boring game, but it can show you that you can win without the Gren Maju and just simply relying on the stun bit of the deck. So, going into game 4, this is less of a showcase of the deck, more I had to include it because it was so funny. So we have a rough opening hand, we can't really do much here, we have nothing to banish, so we're not going to summon the Maju, but we're just going to set the Solemn Strike and an Ash Blossom, and this board can't win, right? So let's see what he's running. He's running Ra, so he's going to activate Ancient Chant to add Ra from deck to hand. He's going to activate Numeron Wall, which I should have ashed. I thought I could have ashed the Network, but I was incorrect. So he's going to go ahead and activate the Network to summon the boys. He's then going to tribute 3 of the boys to summon Ra and activate his effect. Now he's going to go straight to battle. Now, can you see what might kill him here? If you can, let me know. He's going to attack into Ash Blossom with his Numeron for 800 damage when he's on 100 life points. When this happened in game, I didn't even realise what he was doing until he just exploded. It's so funny, I love it. But note to anyone playing against Gren Maju, never attack a face-down monster because it could be Maju. So, our last game here wasn't from the Duelist Cup, but it does show off the extra deck plays, so I thought I would include it. So, we've drawn a decent hand, we've got 2 Gizmeks. We'll activate the Pot of Extravagance and hope we don't banish our key pieces. We're just going to set a Teekboo and then activate a Gizmek to special summon him, and then set the 2 Solemns that we have in hand. Now, it's worth noting that I'm going to hold off on activating Tikbu because I want to go into the second Gizmek, so you've got to be careful rather than just flipping it as soon as they go into standby. So they're going to set one and then special summon a Mech Knight purple. We're going to Solemn Strike that because we can't deal with that. It will be over our Gizmek. He's going to red reboot and then we're going to Slip Judgment because once again he can beat over our Gizmek and we don't want that. So let's let this chain resolve. So now he's got nothing on field, he's going to set one and then summon an Ibli. He's going to link off into Almirage to get the Ibli into the graveyard and then special summon Ibli onto our side of the field so he can't special summon except link monsters. We're going to go on to our turn and fortunately we do have the out. We're going to special summon Lingaribo to get rid of the Ibli from our field. We're going to special summon the Gizmek by banishing 8 and then we're going to Xyz into Draglubion. He's going to activate World Legacy Secret, but luckily we can Lingaribo to prevent that from going off and banish it. So now we can go into our plays uninterrupted. We're going to activate the Draglubion, detaching 1 to special summon the Numeron Dragon, attaching the Hogbringer. We're going to detach it for it to gain 9,000 and it's going to attack into the Almirage. Now this has happened kind of 1 in 10 games, but when it does, it gives you the damage that you need to kill in one turn without drawing the Maju. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions on the list, please do let me know in the comments because I love to see what else you can do with this list and how other people play it. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, please do feel free to hit subscribe. There's new videos each week, all based around Yu-Gi-Oh!, the best game in the world. That's it from me, so as always, happy dueling!